Tom Scott started his YouTube channel back in 2006, in the early days of the platform. In fact, before it was even acquired by Google. The earliest video on his channel is simply him making breakfast with an iron, and by his own admission it will take a while for him to find something that worked, which would end up being the Things You Might Not Know series. But what happens when your niche happens to be almost anything? This is the genius of Tom Scott. Prior to making breakfast with an iron, Tom actually had some online notoriety. He states in the first episode of How to Be Popular on the Internet, in 2004 he got in trouble with the government by making a parody of one of their sites, which is still online to this day. By the time his account was created in 2006, it was likely that people had forgotten, but what it did show Tom, I assume, is the power of the internet. In the second episode of the series, entitled A Quiz That Was Shared a Million Times, the title was self-explanatory, but it showed that even years later, in 2013 to 14, that he had the ability to be part of something or do something that could go viral. Both of these were outside of his own channel, outside of YouTube, outside of an established brand even. They were anomalies that just worked. While these were interesting examples, the last episode is maybe the most important. Why you don't want to go viral. Once again, a self-explanatory title. Thanks, Tom. The general idea of the video is that it can be damaging to go viral early or at any stage and be the person that did such and such. It's why one-hit wonders can struggle and why the second album curse exists. How can you live up to such a high expectation that you maybe even had no idea you would create when you put that thing out into the world? It's something I've struggled with myself, and it mentions if you go viral, it usually means people are there for the video and not the person, which is important to remember and learn. Also, trial and error is the way to go. Lucky for Tom, he had a decent sized back catalogue before he found a hit series. Between the creation date of his channel and finding a series he felt would work, it took 7.5 years, with the first episode of Things You Might Not Know being a 1 minute long video called There Are Special Crossings for Horses in Britain. And as the series suggests, I might not know that, and in fact, had no idea. Thanks again, Tom. The idea of making interesting videos about things you might not know, things that you may have even wondered about, is a really interesting concept, like being able to answer a question before the person asks. Tom also has a really good way of presenting things. They're usually on location. He doesn't just talk about something, he goes there and shows it. It's not like this video where I'm in a room talking about something on the internet. It's the idea that this really interesting thing exists and I want to show you. So I'll go there and show you. Answering things before they're asked once again. Like the first episode, for example, the aforementioned There Are Special Crossings for Horses in Britain. As interesting and appealing as it might sound based on the title alone, how much better would it be to actually see the special crossing for real? All the answers in one place. The series, as of writing this, has over 200 episodes. Success with educational exploration didn't stop there. 2015 saw the launch of the Amazing Places series, which, unlike the Things You Might Not Know, was specific to a location. For example, the first episode is called The Islands Where Guns Are Required, which wouldn't be as easy to do a Things You Might Not Know episode on. Amazing Places has, at the time of recording this, over 100 episodes uploaded. Although in the land of Tom Scott series, these sit as the series with the most episodes, they weren't the be-all and end-all. Let's talk about Jonathan Ross. Before Things You Might Not Know, Tom started a series collectively known as Tom's Language Files, which has multiple episodes prior to the There Are Special Crossings for Horses in Britain, starting with the episode Why Jonathan Ross Can't Pronounce His R's. With those 3 series in mind, we have covered language/logistics, travel and fun, fact/science, and almost everything in between. You want a video about Lego? There is one. You want a video about sign language? Tick. A video about hold music? Tick. You get the point. But don't stress. There's more. A really interesting example of Tom Scott doing game shows is his appearances on Only Connect, which are great. It happened in 2010, 4 years into his YouTube career, but really shows how clever he is. In saying this, he does not shy away from hosting his own game shows on his channel. He has hosted a series entitled Game On, Disconnected, The Game Garage, and my personal favourite, Lateral. All of these have one season, along with Money. His longest running show is actually a collaborative effort, Citation Needed, which has playlists for 8 seasons on Tom's channel, although it was a joint effort of the group Technical Difficulties, who go as far back as 2010, with the first 3 shows still on Tom's channel. In 2015, the channel Matt and Tom Scott and another member of the group Matt Gray, became the home for the Technical Difficulties, and is also the home for the show Two of These People Are Lying, which is another great idea. Technical Difficulties videos and collaborations have slowed down in recent years, and I would assume that was due to the world closing down. Tom has really taken the idea of collaboration and run with it, launching Tom Scott Plus in 2021, which flips Tom's main channel on its head. It's not just Tom teaching the audience, it's the person he's collaborating with teaching Tom their craft or expertise, and both Tom and the audience learning. Like watching Tom learn how to ride a bike, how auto-tune works, blacksmithing, and more. Although there are a couple of videos with card games, but they're just as interesting. I doubt this will mean the end of collaborations on the main channel though, as it seems the second channel is mainly used for people to show off their talents or crafts. This was created as the world was starting to open up again, but as the world shut down, things got creative, and I feel like it's important to talk about. Throughout this video, I briefly mentioned things and genres of videos that require travel and people in some cases, which would become difficult if the world shut down like it has in recent years. But this didn't stop Tom. Disconnected is a great example. If you can't host a game show in person, then use something like Zoom, which was really popular, and host your own game show, which is what Disconnected did, and it meant that the options for contestants were also more broad. Like if the world hadn't shut down, it would have been more difficult to get people like Hank Green and Jaden Animations on a game show, especially in person. With a series entitled Amazing Places and by extension Things You May Not Know, and not being able to travel where you want to could present issues. Tom's way around this was to get people to present things in their own area of the world. I don't know if they were things he was planning on doing prior to the world shutting down. I'd assume he has a list of things he wants to cover in video form, and maybe the world shutting down brought forward some of these ideas. I think the first Tom Scott video I ever saw was part of this, and it was called Trying to Fail a Drug Test on Purpose, which was presented by someone else. When the world was shut down, there was also videos like Australia's bushfire hunting satellites, how to grow Martian salad on Earth, and also the radioactive beach in New York. It's also worth noting that these guest spots existed prior to the world shutting down. Everything I've said in this video doesn't exactly describe how his niche is almost anything, so for the end of the video I want to run through some more things that he has covered. Not everything obviously, it'll take a long time. But here's some of the things that I haven't mentioned. Here's some things you can learn. What counts as a word? Radioactive bananas in Chernobyl. Teleportation. Why you can't show the Hollywood sign. Why 1-1-1970 breaks your iPhone. Why snow and confetti ruin YouTube video quality. A flower that smells like death. The town where Wi-Fi is banned. Why sci-fi planets look the same. The sideways lift. Simultaneous 2D and 3D video, sending garlic bread to space and then eating it. A town called Asbestos, the library of rare colours, the world's first solar-powered train, how to build an app, why no problem can seem rude, how the capture system works, the bridge that's in 2 countries at the same time, a country where all public transport is free, why you can spot bad green screen, where the BBC crashes cars, why Shakespeare couldn't be French, a place that turns teddy bears into stone, how the commercial microwave came to be, how many robots does it take to run a grocery store, the world's shortest flight, real-world use for robot dogs, background noise that can be used to catch criminals, and so much more. Thanks for watching this video. Hopefully you found it interesting. Tom's channel will be linked in the description.